ExxonMobil Climate Change Report to the United Nations. The agenda for today will be: what is climate change? Why is climate change a problem? And what are the solutions to climate change from Exxon's perspective? Because ExxonMobil energy lives here. What exactly is climate change? Well, Exxon, despite what the mainstream media like the Washington Post reports, has been studying this issue since the 1970s. Our 4 decades of research in climate change have resulted in over 150 publicly available papers, 50 peer-reviewed publications, and nearly 300 patents for cutting-edge technological advances in emissions reductions and other related applications, taking very seriously the need to understand, research, and create the technology necessary to affect climate change in a positive manner. Our scientists have been involved in the forefront of climate research, understanding and working with the world's leading experts on climate. We're not going this one alone. We're looking at it to make sure we're doing everything we can to do what's right by you, our customer. What exactly is climate change? Climate change is a natural phenomenon and has been occurring since the Earth came into being. Climate change is a change in average weather, given area or region. This includes temperatures, wind patterns, precipitation. Change is referred to in a global sense and concerns the Earth as a whole. What exactly is climate change? Climate change is essentially the warming of our planet. This warming has far-reaching consequences to the environment of all of our people. It changes the magnitude of storms. It changes how hot it gets in certain areas or how cold it gets in others. Everyone is aware of the melting of the polar ice caps and the rising of the tides. These are the byproducts of what happens during climate change. But the Earth's climate is complex and always changing, and our scientists understand that here at Exxon. Climate change is not caused only by carbon emissions. The biggest polluters that we have are cows. Climate change is not something Exxon takes lightly. We know it is very important, and we know that we need to be reacting to this issue, and we are. Exxon is only responsible for 3% of the total CO2 and CO4 emissions from the beginning of the industrial age around 1751 to 2010, despite being one of the world's largest leading energy companies and employers. I highly recommend that you go to corporate.exxonmobil.com/getthefacts to understand more about what we know and what we're doing about it. Why is climate change important? Well, you can see here: less snow and ice, more droughts and wildfire, thawing permafrost, changes in the life cycles of plants, warmer oceans, damaged coral reefs and other sea life, stronger storms, changing patterns. These are all problems caused by climate change, be it natural climate change or any sort of possible man-made climate change. Why is climate change important? Well, climate change has far-reaching consequences for the entire planet. NASA has stated that the Earth's temperature could rise between 1.8 to 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit above the 1990 levels and will produce beneficial impacts in some regions. Some areas that are currently not benefiting from their environment, when that changes, they'll be able to produce more crops, change their industries, perhaps even change their governments. The 1990 levels are important because that is widely seen as the first time you have the UN and the scientific community coming together to recognize that climate change was occurring. Another reason why climate change is so important is assuming an average oil barrel price of $60, that would result in energy expenditures of $4.968 trillion. The world economy in 2008 was $60.587 trillion. Thus, the energy share of the global economy was about 8.2%. That is a large amount of the world's entire economy and cannot just be changed overnight. That would cause problems beyond what we are prepared to face as a global society. you can see that the world GDP compared to energy consumption from 1969 to 2013 has a direct correlation. As the GDP rises, so does the energy consumption of oil. Again, why climate change is so important, as we see here, fossil fuels have had a huge impact since the turn of the century and have looked to peak and will be falling, and non-fossil fuels will be rising steadily. What we need to do is make sure that we're prepared for this fall in fossil fuels. Many economies rely on fossil fuels. Many people rely for their jobs on fossil fuels. Exxon is a large proponent of fossil fuel usage. So what are the solutions? We believe that the effective policies will be to promote global participation. We can't do it alone here in the US. China, India, Russia, Europe, Africa, they have to be involved. You got to let the market prices drive the selection of the solutions. We cannot dictate to the market what the solutions will be. They have to come naturally from the invisible hand of market forces. We have to ensure a uniform and predictable cost of GHG emissions across the economy. Minimize the complexity of administrative costs. We have maximized transparency so that people can see what's going on, see what the solutions are, and see how they're working. Provide flexibility for future adjustments to react to development in climate science and economic impacts of climate policies. We don't know what the future of climate science is going to be. We do not know what the economic impacts of all climate policies are going to be. We have to be flexible for adjusting to that in the future. Again, what are the solutions? Well, the public officials charged with addressing this challenge learn the valuable lessons from what has worked in the private sector. Our experience harnessing efficiency measures and developing beneficial technologies is illustrative. ExxonMobil has long taken action by reducing greenhouse gas emissions in our operations, providing products that help consumers reduce their emissions, and supporting research into technology breakthroughs. The right incentives can help develop even more new technologies and innovative business models that hold the best chance of making significant progress in reducing emissions, while also enabling economic growth. Economic growth is a very important part of this situation. If we were to just tear down all the Exxon Mobils of the world and say no more fossil fuels, what kind of world are we going to be left with? An example of what we're doing here would be a clean natural gas. The Stonewall Generating Station creates approximately 800 construction jobs, 30 of which will be long-term. We utilize the latest, most advanced emissions control technology. It not use potable water for cooling purposes, conserving Virginia's natural supply of drinking water. Use treated wastewater for cooling purposes and return no wastewater to treatment facility by preventing the discharge of harmful nutrients into the Potomac and Chesapeake Bay watershed. Will be located in an industrial zone and screened by a naturally wooded area to reduce sight lines. Be built along existing transmission lines, eliminating the need for additional power lines. These are all steps that we are taking in just one example of moving to a cleaner, less polluting form of energy. So in summary, we need to work together in order to produce a comprehensive and sustainable solution to keeping climate change in check without destroying our economy, best summarized by our former CEO and current United States Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. And as human beings, as a species, that's why we're still here. We have spent our entire existence adapting. So we will adapt to this. Changes to weather patterns that move crop production areas around. We'll adapt to that. It's an engineering problem and it has engineering solutions. And so I don't fear factor that people want to throw out there to say we just have to stop this. I do not accept that. And neither can we. As a united global society, we cannot accept that.